Hello. Let me tell you why I'll never give up. I when I was a kid, I was misdiagnosed with bipolar. The reason I was misdiagnosed with bipolar is because it turned out I have sugar issues. Where if I have low sugar, I get really hyper and my sugar levels go really high up. But the thing is, after a little while, they crash. And so what this results in me being like is I go from really hyper, high energy, I love life, I love the world, to I hate everything, everything sucks. Low energy, you know? And so what ended up happening with me in that regard is me being misdiagnosed with bipolar. I got put on medicine for that. And for the longest time, for most of my life, I had to be on that medicine, and it made me spacey. It made it hard for me to get social cues. It made it hard for me to, well, be me, right? And it seemed like it worked because it, dialed down the insanity of the hyperness, but it still had the crash, which sucked. Years went on, and as an adult, I was still unfortunately on this medicine. I went to college briefly, but unfortunately a family passing happened, and well, that led to me kind of not being able to handle it. I had to leave college. Originally it was going to be temporary, ended up being permanent. Yes, I'm a college dropout technically, but I don't think it was too much of a bad thing in the long run. In a weird way, that happening actually ended up with me not having college debt, to put it lightly. Because, well, I'll be honest, I actually would have, not liked the job I was going for. I originally thought I was going to be a video game programmer. Can you believe that? It's a fun, I actually do kind of like programming, but not as, like, a career, you know? So, later on, down the line, took some time to myself, and it was got lonely. So I tried VRChat again. And I tried VRChat a few times. I knew about it way back before anyone else did in 2015, but there's barely anyone that had a dev kit, you know? When it came out on Steam, I tried it on, in 2017 a few times and in 2018, but I just kept running into mean people. And I wasn't as confident in myself, and in to give context, I was still on that medicine at this point in my life. So when someone would be mean to me, I would take it personal, I'd get upset, and I would just stop playing. I would just stop trying to be social on there. It wasn't until 2019, which I think was maybe a year-ish, I think, after I've been out of college. I got a new headset. It was the Quest 1. I originally had the HTC Vive. And I got lucky because there's a thing called virtual desktop. And if it wasn't for virtual desktop, I wouldn't have been able to, use PC VR on my Quest, because originally that wasn't even official or supported officially. So, I was able to try VRChat again without the Quest issues of the original Quest. And luckily, I ran into some people. The funny thing is, these people are nice. I never talked to them, never seen them again in my life. But luckily, that same day, I friended two random people talking in that world who seemed funny. They were joking, it was silly, right? And I get on the next day. Like I said, those people I was actually talking to, never seen them again. They weren't even on. So, I decided, screw it, let me join the people that seem funny. And they were like, wait, what? Who are you? And I told them, why I friended them. I didn't want to hang out, just try to be more social on there. I was like, oh, you know what? You can hang out, see where this goes, right? And so I actually became part of the friend group back then. This is all the way back in 2019, before COVID, funny enough. I even got a relationship in VRChat for a bit, met in real life. That was pretty sweet. I was actually the one to break it up, funny enough. I realized she was kind of showing some toxic traits, and when I brought it up to her and she wasn't willing to change on that, I just had to stick to my guns and break up. So 2020 COVID hits. I just broke up with my girlfriend, so that's bad timing because I'm not getting a girlfriend anytime soon during COVID. That was a shitty kind of little period, but I made another friend group because that friend group was starting to die out, and the second friend group was more of a drinking friend group. But I didn't know that going in, and when it became obvious, stuck around a little bit, but I realized it's not my thing. I don't like drinking, and I'm the only sober one. This is boring, right? So I tried another friend group. That didn't really work out. It was kind of short-lived. It was kind of like a furry friend group. I wasn't confident being a furry yet at this point in my life. And they weren't really my vibe, to be honest, to put it lightly. So, switched friend groups again. This next one was kind of like it was kind of like the old VRChat stereotype of the guys using female avatar, anime girl avatars or whatever. They were chill, they were cool, so, we were our thing for a year. Unfortunately, the main guy in that group, well, he was very talkative. We found out some bad stuff about that guy later on, and crazy enough, he was the one to kind of break off the group before we fully realized. So, there was all that, and the rest of the friend group is still together, funny enough, but they don't do VRChat anymore, which is what you gotta do. But throughout all this, I didn't know it yet, but it turned out I was actually a bit of an extrovert, because I couldn't just, switch platforms and do something that isn't VR, because I didn't feel the presence, I didn't feel like it was around anyone, and it felt draining to be alone. So, I kept making new friend groups in VR, right? That's why I kept doing that. And after this fourth one, it did hurt, it did suck. But around this time, I got lucky, and I got these files for a VRChat map I could do that no one else has done yet. And I said, you know what? I gotta do it. I mean, if I'm the only one who has this, no one else is gonna do this. I should just do it, right? So, yes, I ported Luigi's Mansion. Pretty much most of it is, like almost the whole thing, to VRChat. God, I can't believe I did that. It was pretty cool, but eventually I got burnt out. Because I didn't know the whole extrovert-introvert thing at the time. And I just kind of felt envious of my introverted friends, because they were able to work on projects for months on end and not get burnt out. I didn't get it. I want to be a video game programmer. Why can't I do that? So I used my Luigi's Mansion world as a way to see if that's a career path for me. Could I be a video game programmer? Can I do it for that long period without being social and whatnot? It burned myself out hard. It was so bad I didn't even want to see anything Luigi's Mansion related. Like, it was like a traumatic experience for months. Actually, almost like more than a year at this point. Unfortunately, someone took advantage of me around this point. Getting burnt out. Someone kind of planted some paranoia and ended up kind of like breaking off from a lot of people. Some of which I actually would still say that probably weren't really good people to have as close friends. Maybe like decent, I don't know, like maybe like more surface level friends, sure, but not close friends. That was an issue I figured out later, though. That was kind of my own fault in that specific case. But unfortunately, he convinced me away from someone who I'd actually still consider my best friend, and we did make up, so it's all good. Don't worry about that. But eventually, that guy ended up being a problem later on. I spent almost like a whole year just with him in VR. I felt bad for him. And then I ended up getting burnt when he started trying to turn against me, which is pretty wild. But I still kept going, It hurt. That one was the worst. That one definitely got me the most. But for some reason, I just couldn't stop. I had to keep getting on. I had to keep trying and keep being social. Because if I didn't, I don't know, like, what else do I do? Like, I can't go back to just not talking to people and just play video games like I used to as a kid and nothing else. Now I know what it's like to be social, and now I know what it's like to kind of feel charged from talking to people and not just staying so much to myself and thinking, I'm just someone who doesn't want to be social or whatever. It's like, no, I do. It's just, I just didn't know it because I just never had the opportunity to charge me and people like energize me to start trying, going out more and doing things. And once I started, I just can't stop now, right? And I could have so easily just like been that been that kind of guy who who just lives with his mom forever, content playing video games and not talking to a damn soul, and not giving a fuck about the world, and just being a doomer and thinking, what's the point? Why try? But like, I just couldn't. I was just never satisfied with that thought. Even in my most loneliest times, the roughest times, I just couldn't accept that idea. I couldn't accept the idea that the world's fucked up, or the idea that somehow I'm one of the only people who actually care, or there isn't enough people to care. I think more people care than they realize. I think there's a lot more people who feel the same way I feel, or you might feel. We just haven't looked, we just haven't bothered, we haven't tried, but that's why nothing's changing. That's why the status quo stays the same. It's because no one's trying to change it, and the people who do, they fall into traps. They fall into the same manipulation that I fall into, that other people fall into, and most are never lucky enough to get out of. They try to help people, they try to help someone, and end up helping or quote unquote, just helping one person, and only one person, and thinking like, oh, I gotta help this guy, and then before they know it, they've been drained. They don't even realize it, but they've been manipulated. They've been taken advantage of, and now they're not helping anyone. They have never helped anyone, because all they tried to do is help one person, and that one person secretly never wanted to help at all, ever, to begin with. And that's sad, But it's not the end. You get out of it, you keep going, you try again, you live and learn. Last year, I got off that bipolar medicine, and I was finally able to live and learn. All these things, all these experiences I've had so many times, I couldn't learn from them because I couldn't keep the thought, the information, I couldn't recall it easily at all. It was like I couldn't think, man. I couldn't. Someone could tell me a boundary, I would just forget it the next day. Someone could tell me this guy's, I don't know, look out for what this guy does. That might be a sign he's manipulating you. I'm like, oh, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, okay, no. On that medicine, that wasn't keeping in my mind, or at least not being recalled when it should be. But now that I'm off it, I can really focus. I can see people, I can understand people, I can read people, I can do things I haven't been able to do, because now I'm able to be a fucking man, a fucking human, and actually do something about stuff, and actually try. And now, I'm not only trying, but I'm making progress. I'm doing YouTube, I'm feeling better about myself. I got out of my shell, I started being a furry, and just doing it in VRChat, and just being my silliest, most chaotic, happy self I could be, and being confident in that for once. And not caring what some random person I don't know thinks. I'm caring a little more about the people who, I do get close to. And we have an equal exchange of emotions. It's not just one-sided, And then with the one-sided people, I know to keep a surface level. I know not to take them serious if they start being jerks or whatever, because I already know what to expect from them. I know how this goes. I live, I learn. I do something, I fail, I learn, I do it again, and maybe that keeps happening and repeating it, but eventually something happens. Something comes of it. Every little thing you do in VRChat, in real life even, it has an impact. It's a cycle. You break the cycle. You start being happy, you start being positive when you can be. As you don't have to be happy all the time. It's stupid. You're human. This life is meant to be felt, and not just the happiness, but all the emotions. And you process those emotions. You take your time to be sad, and you cherish, you fight, you go for the moment to be happy, and you feel it. It's better than ever, because now you're not only happy, but you're happy because you already processed that sadness. You were sad, that was your sad moment. You're happy now, this is your fucking happy moment. You're enjoying it, you're doing it, because you didn't stop, you kept going. You didn't give up, you kept trying. You didn't just fail, you learned, and eventually you succeeded. That's why I'll never give up. That's why, even after I quote-unquote succeeded, I find my external, I find my external success along with my internal success that I mostly have, honestly. I feel pretty good about myself. It's more, my issue right now is just more trying to finish getting in shape and getting my living situation to be better. But even after that, I'm always going to be doing things. I never give up because I want to still get on. I still want to talk to people. That would never change. That's who I am. I am social. I'm always going to meet people. I'm always going to be out there talking to whoever I can find and whoever will let me into their lives. And I'm just going to help them too, help them open up, be themselves, do what I did, or their version of it anyways, and be their best selves they could be, just like how I started trying to be my best self that I can be, They could finally make their own difference that they've been trying to do, that they've been trying to say that maybe they could do, but they just never had the encouragement. They never had the person to be like, hey, you know what? That is actually kind of interesting what you do. Maybe you can actually do something with that. Maybe that doesn't have to just be something that people criticize. I think that's not a fault. That's not a weakness. That is a strength. What you have there, you should do something with it, and do it. That's why you gotta keep trying. Don't give up. If something's the same for too long, break the path. Get off the path you were just following. Why not? Why not try? Because if you don't try, you're already lost. It's already over if you don't try. If you never try, what did you do? But if you tried, and if nothing happens, at least the experience was interesting, At least the experience was maybe exciting, maybe even a little fun. At least trying was actually something worth trying. This is a very serious video for me, but that's why I'm me. That's why I'm Manolo, and that's why I choose to be a monkey. I just see monkeys as like this carefree thing, a creature that's just willing to do what they want. They don't need a society to abide by. They just be what they are, and they enjoy it. They just do silly things if they want to, and they don't hesitate to just do it. And in a way, don't all of us want to just like kind of do that? just be silly without a little judgment. Just do something chaotic, have fun, and maybe show off and be like, yeah, that was cool, right? And be like, that was cool. Let me do that too, right? Without the like fear of like, oh, you're a weirdo. Oh, you did that? I think all of us want to just do fun stuff once in a while. But like, that's not bad. That's life. That's what being an adult is anyways. Being an adult isn't being serious all the time. It's knowing when to be serious, knowing when to be silly, and just living. Because, like, it's not just work. You work not to, not to keep living. You work to live. If your work is miserable, well, then you gotta have more fun after you're working. If you can't have fun, you should do a different job. As the money only does so much. You gotta do something with it. What's the point of having all that money if you're not living? If you're not doing anything? What's the point of that? You gotta try. All you could do, the thing that you really should do, is always try.